Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It's so wonderful to be back here and to be learning with everyone. We are the third Parsha into the book of Genesis,
Lecha.
Lecha, and it really is remarkable. So we're just going to go from left to right, and we're going to start with Howard. Howard, please. We'll read section by section. So everyone, we typically do 2 paragraphs each, but we're going to do now section by section. So Howard, please go for it.
Hashem commands Abraham to leave his father and travel to Eretz Canaan. While Abraham and his wife Sarai lived in Charan, they taught others about Hashem. Avram taught the men, and Sarai taught the women to believe in one God who created heaven and earth. Hashem saw that there was no tzaddik like Avram. He therefore decided to make Avram the father of a holy nation, the Jewish people. He said to Avram, "It is not proper for you to live in this unholy land together with your father and his family who serve idols. Leave here and go to the land that I will show you." Why did Hashem not tell Avram the name of the land where he wanted Avram to travel? Eretz Canaan, which is another name for Eretz Yisrael. Hashem was testing Avram. Would he listen to Hashem and wander to a place without knowing where he was going? Also, Hashem did not want Avram's father, Terach, to go along with him. Terach might be interested in settling in Eretz Yisrael together with his son, but since Avram didn't know where he was headed for, he told his father, "Hashem may command me to travel to the end of the world." When Terach heard that, he preferred to remain in Haran. Avram said to his wife Sarai, "Let us not delay even a day. Let us leave immediately." Avram took with him his nephew Lot, who was Haran's son and Sarai's brother. He was an orphan who had been brought up by Avram and Sarai. Many of the people who Avram and Sarai had taught to believe in Hashem also decided to accompany them on their journey. Hashem sent clouds in front of Avram and his household, which showed them the road he wanted them to take.
So I want to just share with you a very, very interesting idea here, okay? And we can elaborate on this. So there's something called emunah. Emunah means faith, which means really even more than faith. It means knowledge of Hashem. That is the very fundamental, the very basic of Judaism. Every Jew needs to have a solid knowledge of Hashem. There's no mitzvah to believe in Hashem. There's a mitzvah to know Hashem. Okay, that's the goal. Now, once I know Hashem, and I know that He's there, and I know that He is the creator of heaven and earth, and He gives me everything that I have, there comes a next step, which is trust in Hashem. In that I trust that Hashem will do what is best for me, and that I trust that Hashem is there to take care of everything I need. So, what Avram is demonstrating by leaving his father's house, by leaving his family, by leaving his childhood, by leaving everything to a destination that is unknown, is where he is demonstrating trust in Hashem. Do I know how this is going to work? I have no idea. But you know what? Hashem will take care of it because He's in charge. Hashem is the one who decides if someone lives or dies. Hashem is the one who decides if someone is going to meet their mate or not. All right? Hashem is the one who decides if someone will have children or not. Hashem is the one who decides everything. And that what we need to have is A, knowledge, B, is trust. The second thing is we need to be able to trust in Hashem, whether it's our livelihood. Where is it going to come from? What am I going to do? How am I going to be able to support my family? If you know that there's a Hashem, you can trust that He will take care of you. It's something that in our generation today is very difficult for people to understand and for people to connect to. Very, very difficult. The reason it is so difficult is because people today have so much they can't let go. They can't let go. They have a very difficult time letting go. And today we have more problems with depression. We have more problems with people dealing with anxiety, with stress. It's not because they have a little, it's because they have a lot. And the more we have, the more trust we put in other things instead of putting our trust in the one that really counts, which is the Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. That's who we need to put our trust in. And it's becoming a bigger problem as we become more, I guess, convinced of our self-sufficient. I can do things on my own. I've got it all taken care of. I have insurance, on insurance, on insurance, on insurance. So if one insurance company goes bankrupt, the other insurance will cover it with the other insurance. We're like, basically, we're telling God, we don't need you. We've got it all taken care of ourselves. And that is only distancing us from God. Today, we have so many securities, right? We have this idea of financial security where, people want to have everything, I want to put away money so that one day, a rainy day, what will happen then? God's not going to be there, so I have to take care of myself. Wrong. God is there all the time. He's always there to take care of us. He's always there to help us. And yes, is it a lack of faith to have a life insurance policy? No. But to put your faith in it, to put your trust in it, is a problem. Meaning, you have to do what you have to do. You do what you need to do. Right? The example typically given is, well, if you don't actually go to work, you're not going to be able to earn a living, right? You have to actually go to work. That's true and not true. It depends on your level of trust, right? My father worked for many, many, many years, about 28 years, I think it was, that he worked in diamonds and jewelry. My father was a peddler, right? And he would go from store to store, shop to shop. And one of his big clients was one of the big pawn shop chains, right? So the pawn shop, I'm not going to say which one, but my father would go there and he would sell his diamonds. My father would sell diamonds and jewelry that were on the lower end of things because there's a big clientele out there that's interested in not spending $30,000 for an engagement ring or $10,000 for an engagement ring. They want to spend $500. Want to get engaged, and they don't want to spend a lot of money. They call it a lot of flash for little cash, and that was my father's specialty, and that's what he would specialize in. And he would go every week, almost every week. He would travel to Detroit, he would travel to Oklahoma, he would travel all around the country, and sell to all of these shops. One week he came, and my father always used to, if you would ask my father how he was doing in business, he would say, "Thank God I have food for Shabbos." That's always his motto. He's like, "I have enough food for Shabbos. I have enough." So one week, my father comes home. I think it was a Thursday night or a Friday morning. He arrives back from one of his week-long trips, and how was your trip? He says, "Didn't sell a thing. Knocked on doors, went, sold, tried to sell to people, not a single sale." Okay, but where does livelihood come from? Does livelihood come from my sales, or does livelihood come from the Almighty? Right? And that was really the way my father lives. He still does. Lives his life in good health, right? Lives his life every day. It's not from me. I have to put in my efforts, and the success will come or not come from the Almighty. My father goes into the office on Friday and puts in his information in the database and whatever he wants to keep track of, who he went to and who he saw and who said come back in 6 months and come back in 3 months and come back in 2 weeks and and he gets a phone call. The phone call is a client he did not go to, a client he didn't visit, a client who he didn't even think would be interested at this time. And the client made an order that covered everything he would have sold to all of those people, right? During the week. And what was the lesson my father taught us then? That Friday night at our Shabbos table, he said, "My job and our job as Jewish people is to put forward our efforts. The success comes from Hashem. I put my efforts here, and Hashem sent it from here." That is the way we need to live our lives, is with trust. Trust in Hashem that He understands and He knows every one of our needs. And He'll take care of it. And if we let go He's got it covered. Just got to let go. You know, another interesting thing is there is another level. There is another level. I don't want to get into it too much, but there is another level, which is that a person doesn't, if a person has enough trust in Hashem, he doesn't even need to put the effort forward. But that's a very, very high level of trust. An extremely high level of trust where he does not need to put his efforts forward for it to be successful. All right. So without any further ado, Bobby.
Okay. Let me see if I can make. Avram travels from Eretz Canaan to Egypt. Whoops, wait a minute. What happened?
Okay, I'm sorry, zoomed in.
Okay. Soon after Avram, Sarai and their household arrived in Eretz, Canaan. Yeah. Canaan, rain stopped falling. The crops stopped growing. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. There were soon the fruits, no fruits, no vegetables, and no grains left. People became hungrier and hungrier. Hashem caused this famine in order to give Avram a new test. Would he now complain? It is not fair. First, Hashem sends me to Eretz Canaan, and now I have nothing to eat here. But Avram never complained. He was convinced that everything Hashem does has a good reason. Avram told Sarai, "Let us go to Egypt. Egypt has plenty of food. Even if it does not rain, the Nile River waters the land." But something was bothering Avram. He said, "I feel bad about traveling to Egypt. Usually we invite people to our home, we offer them a meal, and when they want to thank us, we explain that it is Hashem who gives food to all. This way," I'm trying to make it bigger. Sorry, just a second.
Yeah, it's a little
This
blurry.
way.
It's a little blurry.
Well,
Fatima,
this
as I
way
make-
we teach.
There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go. Wait a second. This way we teach people. But Egypt is a very rich country. People won't need our food. I'm afraid we will not be able to teach others about Hashem. Nevertheless, Avram saw no other choice but to travel to Egypt. When Avram, Sarai, and Lot neared the Egyptian border, Avram said, "The Egyptians are wicked people. When they see a beautiful married woman, they murder the husband and they take away his wife. Sarai, please tell everyone that you are my sister. Then they will not kill me. This is not a lie because you are my father's granddaughter, and a granddaughter is considered a daughter." In order to be extra careful, to be extra careful, Avram hid Sarai in a large box. He hoped she would not be discovered. But the king's customs officers opened the box and found Sarai. They sent a message to King Pharaoh. "A beautiful woman has arrived here together with her brother." Pharaoh sent out his soldiers to bring Sarai to his court. Pharaoh told Sarai, "You must become my wife." To Sarai's brother, Avram, Pharaoh gave many presents so that he should agree to Pharaoh's taking Sarai. Let's see, where are we now? Sarai told Pharaoh,
load up here. 1 second. Here you go.
"Okay, I am a married woman. You are not allowed to keep me in your palace. Give me back to Avram." But Pharaoh did not listen. Sarai was very afraid and davened to Hashem to help her. Hashem sent an angel to watch over Sarai to protect her. Every time Sarai commanded the angel, "Strike Pharaoh," the angel hit Pharaoh. Pharaoh was stricken with 10 different plagues. Hashem also struck Pharaoh's household with plagues. Similarly, Hashem would later punish the Pharaoh who afflicted Bnei Yisrael with 10 plagues. Pharaoh suffered greatly from the plagues. Now he realized that Sarai was a very righteous woman, a tzaddik, how do you say it?
A tzaddikus.
Sadeakus, okay, who was under Hashem's protection. He sent a message to Avram. "It is all your fault. Why didn't you tell me that this woman is married to you? Now take her and leave the country immediately before anyone else tries to harm her." Pharaoh was so overwhelmed with Avram's and Sarai's greatness that he sent along his daughter Hagar to serve Sarai and to learn her way in life. Pharaoh gave Avram and Sarai expensive gifts. He also ordered his soldiers to accompany them back to the border of Egypt. This was unheard of. The Egyptians could hardly believe it. Their king had actually set free a woman whom he wanted for himself and had not killed her husband. This had never happened before. Now everyone realized that Avram was a great tzaddik and Sarai a Sadiqus. That's a great word. Hashem protected them. No one, not even a king, could harm them. Hashem had made. Wait a minute here. Where are we?
Hashem had made
the whole story happen so that Avram and Sarai would become famous as Hashem's special friends. Avram's and Sarai's journey to Egypt also caused Hagar to join up with them.
Right. So it's an amazing story. Again, leading us back to that same knowledge of Hashem, trust in Hashem. And Hashem coordinates all of these different details. We see the 10 plagues that happened later. We're talking about hundreds of years later to the Jewish people, right, when we were enslaved there, are all based on the original of Abraham and Sarah. All right, on the original 10 plagues. And something very, very important that our sages tell us, and this is something, please take this to heart, okay? Our sages tell us something amazing. It says, Ma'aseh avot siman libanim. The stories, the incidents that happened to the fathers, to our ancestors, our fathers and mothers, our matriarchs and patriarchs, are a sign for us. What does it mean? That means that we have the same challenges they had. We have the same struggles they had. We have the same opportunity to bring Hashem into our world, into our life, exactly as they had. And that's something that we need to figure out a way to bring that godliness into our world, so that we don't just live life and whatever here and there. Well, the idea is to really take these stories, so to speak, of Genesis, of we learn from Adam, and we learn from Cain and Abel, and we learn from Noah, and we learn from their children, and we learn from Abraham, and now we're going to have Isaac, and then we'll have Jacob, and you see, there's a whole world out there that's into this very, very, very modern way of learning. It's called Bible criticism. And Bible criticism means that they weren't great people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. They weren't great people. They were just people. And we're also just people. They want to humanize them and make them into a way of, like, I'm a low person, I'm going to make them low as well. Instead of thinking of them as the holy people who really set the ground for us to be the Jewish nation. They set the foundations. They were so awesome and so amazing, right? And we have to look up to them. No, they want to make them lower and simpler, right? And that is a terrible thing. This whole Bible criticism thing comes, in my opinion, out of ignorance. It comes out of a point of ignorance, not a point of strength. It comes out of a point of, like, it's so awesome and it's so great, but I'm not willing to go up to that level, so I'm going to pull them down. And that's to me, this is when you read these stories of the righteousness of Abraham, the righteousness of Sarai, right? And where they weren't people who cared about themselves. They cared about, when people would come to their house, we just read this, right? People would come to the house and say, oh, Abraham and Sarah, thank you so much for inviting us into your house. The food was delicious. And you know what Abraham would say? Don't thank me. You know who you need to thank? Thank the Almighty. Like, who's that? Thank God. What do you mean God? Who is God? I never heard of God. Abraham would sit down and talk to them about godliness. He would talk to them about God. He would talk to them, and that was their tactic. Abraham and Sarah's tactic of bringing people closer to monotheism, bringing people closer to God, was by serving them food. Serve them food, bring them in, and you know what happens then? They'll say thank you, because that's what normal human beings do. And when they say thank you to us, we'll say, don't say thank you to us, say thank you to God. He's the one who gave us everything. And then they're going to ask why, who's God? And then we'll get into that conversation. And then people would start following Abraham and Sarah, and they'd become followers of them, travel with them. They were groupies. People would travel with them wherever they traveled. People would go with them wherever they went. And they became, that's how we have a Jewish nation today. It's really amazing, remarkable. All right. Linda, you there?
I have a few questions. Can I?
Sure. Ask Howard.
I was reading that even though he went to Egypt, he was instructed by God to go to Canaan. He was not instructed by God to go to Egypt. So from what I read, he should have waited for God to tell him to go or not to go.
Right. So here's the thing: is that God told him to go to Canaan, but there was a famine in Canaan, so he had to leave to save his life.
Well, I think according to what I read, he shouldn't have gone without God's permission. But anyway, I'm pointing out something I read.
Okay, that's excellent.
I have another question about Pharaoh. Pharaoh at that, Pharaoh in Moses' day never heard of God. So Pharaoh in this day knew about God? Sounds rather odd.
No, so it's not that he didn't know about God. It's that he wanted to deny God. You see, the challenge is like this, is that the more a person is engrossed in the physical world, the less they connect with Hashem.
Okay.
The way it works is the higher your spirituality, the less important physicality is. The more physicality is important, the less important God is. They don't go together. Okay?
Right.
It's one or the other. And that's why, if you notice, it said that Egypt was a very, very wealthy nation.
Yeah.
Very extremely wealthy. That is the first sign to tell you that they weren't close to God. Now, the only way he connected to God was because he had all of these plagues hit him. What do you expect him to do? He was beat to a pulp to acquiesce. All right.
Thanks for the
pleasure. All right, Linda, you there?
Yes.
All right.
Avram separates from Lot. Lot settles in Sodom. Avram was a very rich man because Hashem blessed him.
Now, you see, it's very interesting. Why was Abraham a rich man? Oh, he was a good businessman, very smart, well-educated, went to good schools, right? No. That's not why he was rich, because Hashem blessed him. And I want you to pay attention to the people you know who have financial success, right? Can you correlate it with them being brilliant people, with them being, well-educated? Most of the people I know that are very, very successful don't have college degrees. They're not the brightest of people, right? Now, it happens to be that many of them are, but people like to associate it with things that's 1 + 1 = 2, and that's not the way the world operates. It's 1 + 1 = whatever Hashem wants it to be. It's such a fundamental principle. We have to continue to ingrain this into ourselves, into our families, into our children, that it's not 1 + 1 = 2. Just because you signed a good contract doesn't mean you're going to have good results. How many times have people done a great business deal that went south? 1 second, how did that happen? You crossed all your T's, you dotted all your I's, and it still failed. And these are people who have always succeeded in their businesses, and you'll have some that failed. You know why? Because Hashem said it will. It's not because you're so smart and you can, and you can figure out all situations that's why we're successful. That's not necessarily true. Okay, so next page is. Okay, Abraham owned many oxen and sheep.
Okay, could you make it just a little? Okay. He owned many oxen and sheep and much gold and silver. Avram's nephew Lot, who traveled with him, also had great riches, not because he was a tzaddik, but because he stayed together with the tzaddik Avram. Then a quarrel broke out between Avram's shepherds and Lot's shepherds. Avram used to command his shepherds, "Never let my animals enter the fields of other people. If my animals graze in those fields, I am stealing other people's grass." Even though Hashem promised that the whole Eretz Canaan will one day belong to my children, it is not mine yet.
Right, now Eretz Canaan is what later became Eretz Yisrael, right? Land of Israel. But at that time it was called Eretz Canaan. All right, please continue.
Avram's shepherds therefore muzzled all the animals whenever they passed through fields that were not Avram's. They ordered Lot's shepherds to do the same. But Lot's shepherds did not muzzle their animals. They claimed, before long, the land will belong to Lot, since Abram has no son. And so they allowed Lot's animals to eat in other people's fields. Avram's shepherds kept arguing with them that they were wrong, and Lot's shepherds argued back. Avram said to Lot, "It is not good that we should quarrel. People will say Avram and Lot are relatives and they don't live in peace. It is therefore better if we separate. You may choose whether you want to settle in the south or the north of the land. If you go north, I will go south, and if you go south, I will go north. You need not worry that I will be too far from you to help you if you need me. I will stay close enough to come to your aid." Lot decided to settle in the city of Sodom. Sodom and its 4 neighboring cities were located on the banks of rivers. Their soil was therefore well watered, and there was excellent pasture land for Lot's cattle. Lot's decision was a mistake because the people of Sodom were the worst people in the whole land of Canaan. They were robbers and murderers. In those times, the worst insult you can use against someone was to call him a Sodomi.
One second. That's 16 minutes. 71. Okay.
Lot made 2 mistakes. He left the tzaddik of Avram. He settled among Rashaim.
Rishaim are wicked people. See, he did 2 mistakes. Number 1 is he left the righteous. Number 2, he settled among the wicked. Now, our Mishnah tells us that oy l'rasha, oy l'shchino, woe to the wicked person and woe to his neighbor, because it's only a matter of time till his neighbor becomes wicked as well. And our sages warn us to stay away from bad influences, stay away from people who are no good, stay away from those who are going to bring you down. And it's such an important and an amazing responsibility that we have to make sure that our environment is a good environment. All right. Eliana, you there?
Want me to finish?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry. One more paragraph here.
Lot overlooked the bad character of the Sodomim because he hoped that in Sodom he would become even richer. But in the end, he lost out, as we shall soon see.
Okay, and on the bottom here, there's always here, what can we learn from Lot? Our sages tell us in Avot 1:7, keep away from a bad neighbor and do not associate with a rasha. We are advised to stick to friends who help us to be good and to do good. And we must keep away from those who influence us to do wrong things. So that's what we just mentioned. Okay, Eliana?
Yes. Avram wins a war against 4 kings. It was Pesach time, and Avram was in the middle of baking matzahs. The Torah was given only after Avram's time. Avram kept all the mitzvahs of the Torah.
Okay, Eliana, your microphone is going in and out. Eliana? Eliana, your microphone is going in and out.
Maybe
But
she's
hold on.
All right, is Eliana still here? No.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, you're going in and out.
You keep breaking up.
Yes, I'm sorry. Why don't you
Okay.
have someone else read?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Eliana. Howard, can you continue?
Sure. Even though the Torah was given only after Abram's time, Abram kept all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Suddenly, he noticed the giant hurrying toward his tent.
Okay,
It
so
was-
just one quick second is that it's a very important principle to remember that the Torah preceded the world. The Torah is the blueprint of the world.
Right.
Okay, so even though the Torah wasn't yet given to the Jewish people, the Torah existed. Right now, it's very important because we look at the Torah and we see all these stories, and many of the stories in the Torah didn't yet happen in the time of Abraham. So what are you talking about the Torah? The Torah is the way of Hashem. The Torah is the thought of Hashem, right? The intention of Hashem, the connection to Hashem. That is in the Torah, right? All of the 613 mitzvahs are channels to connect to Hashem. And that is what Abraham was able to connect to. When you're able to connect and understand the way of Hashem, you know the Torah. And part of it is the special time of Pesach. There's certain channels that open up through matzah, through drinking the 4 cups of wine, etc., etc., etc. All of those channels are open during those times. And the time of Sukkot, the same. And the time of Rosh Hashanah, the same. All right.
Okay. Suddenly, he noticed a giant hurrying toward his tent. It was Og, the only giant who was still alive from before the Mabul.
Let's just do 2 stars on the bottom.
Yep. The Midrash explains that Noach let Og stay on a board attached to the ark. Noach made a hole in the wall and gave Og food. In this way, Og survived the Mabul.
Okay, perfect.
Where are we? Okay.
Og told Abraham.
Og told Avram, I am coming straight from the battlefield. Let me report to you what happened. The king of Sodom and 4 kings with him rebelled against the mighty king Chedorlaomer after having served him for 12 years. Chedorlaomer called another 3 kings to help him in a war against the 5 rebellious kings. Chedorlaomer and his 3 allies won the war. They took all the people of Sodom as their prisoners, with your nephew Lot among them. Then Chedorlaomer and his troops traveled to the north. The giant Og thought, I want Abram to try to save his nephew Lot from the 4 kings. The 4 kings will certainly kill Abram in battle. Then I can take his wife Sarai. Avram thought, Lot is in trouble. I will prepare huge sums of money. Perhaps I will be able to ransom him. If not, I will fight in order to rescue him. Avram gathered his students and servants. Together, they were 318 people. Let's see where you are. He announced, I'm going to help Lot, who is in captivity. Whoever is not afraid, join me. Avram had 3 students who were Emirate princes, Aner, Eshkol, and Mamre. They volunteered, we will guard your belongings while you are away. The 4 kings had already traveled far north until Syria, but Hashem miraculously shortened the way for Avram and his men. Chedorlaomer's army was huge. There were thousands and thousands of soldiers. Avram would not have dared to attack them, but when he looked up, he saw the Shekinah and the heavenly hosts on his side, ready to help him. With Hashem's help, Avram, his servant Eliezer, and the rest of his men won a miraculous victory over the 4 mighty kings and their armies. Avram rescued Lot and all the prisoners. Among the enemy kings who Avram destroyed was also Nimrod, who had thrown Avram into the furnace.
Beautiful. All right, Bobby.
Okay, Shem also Melchizedek. Well, I'm sorry.
Melchizedek.
Yes.
Welcomes Avram. Avram refuses to take any booty of the war. Noach's son Shem was still alive. He was a tzaddik who always served Hashem. He moved to Jerusalem, which at that time was named Shalom, and there he regularly offered sacrifices to Hashem. He was known as a Melchizedek, which means righteous king. and also means king of the city of righteousness. Melchizedek heard about Avram's miraculous victory over the four kings. And when Avram returned from war and was approaching Jerusalem, Melchizedek came out to welcome Avram and to praise Hashem. He brought with him bread and wine to feed Avram's tired and hungry men. The king of Sodom also came out to meet Avram. He told Avram, all our money that you took back from our enemies belongs to you. Only please return to me the prisoners whom you freed. Avram raised his hand to Hashem and exclaimed, I swear I will I will touch none of the booty of this war. Hashem promised to bless me with riches, and he has already fulfilled his promise. I have much cattle, gold, and silver. If I take your money, you will think I made Avram rich. 1/10 of the money I gave to Melchizedek, who is Hashem's Kohen. Another part I will give to the men who helped me, and also to Anir, Eshkol, and Mamre, who guarded my belongings. For myself, I want none of your belongings, not even a single thread or a shoelace.
Right. Why is that? Because Abraham again lives in an existence of emunah, and in a world, in an existence of bitachon, of trust. And he says, I don't need the gifts of man. Hashem is the one who gives me the gifts, and I don't need it. You see the same theme again and again. Abraham didn't feel like he was living in a world where he needs to fight for himself. He realized also when he was battling against these four kings, he realized it's all Hashem who's helping me. I'm just here as a vessel, right? And the same thing with his wealth, with his belongings. He didn't feel like it was him. He felt like it was Hashem who was providing all that success. All right. Linda, you want to read the Midrash explains?
Yes. The Midrash explains, Hashem rewards Avram. Hashem said, Avram, all the booty of the war really belonged to you, but you were satisfied with what you already have. I will reward you. You said, I want nothing, neither a thread nor a shoelace. As a reward, I will give your descendants the mitzvah of tzitzit, which have 4 double threads in each corner. For your words, not a shoelace, I will reward them with the mitzvah of chalitza, for which the woman has to open her brother-in-law's shoelace. We see that Avram did not lose out when he refused all the money the king of Sodom offered to him. Hashem rewarded his descendants with 2 mitzvot. Besides, Hashem gave Avram later great blessings.
Right. So, just an interesting, the Levirate, the whole situation of a man who's married who dies, so his brother can restore his brother's house if they didn't have children. The brother can marry the wife, right? And if he doesn't want to, then he would do what's called here the mitzvah of chalitza, right? And where the wife would pull out his shoe and she would spit into the shoe, he would put his foot back in, and that's basically she would declare, this is for the person who doesn't want to restore his brother's home, right? It's a special mitzvah that we got as a gift because Abraham said, I'm not even willing to take a shoelace, right? And the other was as we just read. Okay, Howard, go for it.
Hashem promises Avram that his descendants will be as many as the stars. After winning the war against the 4 kings, Avram was worried. Perhaps those mighty kings' friends will gather against me and attack me. But Hashem assured him, Avram, even if all your enemies gather against you, I will protect you. Avram also worried, perhaps I used up all the reward which was reserved for me in Olam Haba, because Hashem performed such great miracles for me.
No, 1 second.
Hashem assured him, you still have a great reward in Olam Haba. Avram then davened, Hashem, you were so kind in performing miracles for me during the war. I also know that you have prepared for me more blessings yet. But what do I have from them? I have no son who will continue to teach the people about you after I die. Instead, my servant Eliezer will be left in charge. Do not worry, Hashem consoled Avram. You will have a son. Look at the sky. Hashem led Avram outside his tent. Look at the sky, he commanded. Avram saw a big star shining in the sky. This star represents you, Hashem told him. You are like a big star that lights up the world. Now look again. Avram saw two stars. Those two stars are you and your son, Hashem told him. Then Avram saw three stars appear. They represent you, your son, and your grandson, Hashem said. When Avram looked up to the sky again, there were 12 stars. There will be 12 tribes, Hashem explained to him. Suddenly, there were 70 stars. You will have 70 descendants traveling to Egypt, Hashem foretold. Then the whole sky was covered with stars from one end to the other. So many will your descendants be, Hashem promised Avram, but they will be too many to count.
Okay. Bobby?
Brisbane Habasarim, Hashem promises Avram that his children will inherit Eretz Canaan. Hashem also promised Avram, your children will inherit the land of Canaan, Eretz Yisrael. Please, Hashem, requested Avram, give me a sign that this will indeed come true. Hashem replied, I will make a treaty with you as a sign. In those times, people made a treaty by cutting up animals and walking between the pieces. This was a way of saying, if I don't keep my part of the agreement, I deserve to be cut to pieces like these animals. Hashem commanded Avram, take 3 calves, 3 goats, 3 rams, a pigeon, and a dove. Avram did so. Then he cut the animals in 2, except for the birds, which Hashem told him not to cut up. Avram arranged the pieces in 2 rows. When they were laid out, mighty birds of prey swooped down from the sky and wanted to devour them. Avram chased them away. This was a sign. In the future, the idol worshippers, who are compared to birds of prey, would try to destroy Avram's descendants, the Jewish people. But Hashem would save the Jews in the merit of their great forefather, Avram. Then Hashem made Avram fall into a deep sleep and sent him a prophetic dream. Avram felt a great fear and darkness coming over him. This was a sign that Hashem would bring hardships on his descendants, the Jews. Hashem foretold Avram, know that your descendants will not conquer Eretz Yisrael immediately. First, I will exile them for many years in strange lands. They will become slaves in Egypt, and they will be afflicted. Then I will punish those who oppress them. Hashem hinted at the many plagues he would send against Egypt, and the Jews will leave with great fortune. Finally, the Jews will return to Eretz Canaan. They will drive out the nations living in Eretz Canaan, and they will inherit it. While Avram was dreaming all this, the sun set. Hashem made a thick darkness descend. Avram saw a smoking oven and a fiery flame pass between the pieces of the animals. The smoking oven and the fiery flame were Hashem's messengers. When they passed between the pieces, it was as if Hashem himself were walking between the
Pieces.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Between the
Pieces,
pieces
top of
on
the
top.
page.
Between the pieces, and in this way, making a treaty with Avram. The smoking oven was also a sign that all the nations that would afflict the Jews would be thrown by Hashem into a fiery oven in Gehenna. In this way, Hashem made a treaty with Avram to promise him that his children would get Eretz Yisrael. This treaty is known as Bris Bein Habesarim, the treaty between the pieces of animals.
All right. Linda, please. Thank you.
Avram marries Hagar. She gives birth to Yishmael. Sarai had not borne children all the years of her marriage with Avram. She said to Avram, "Marry my maid Hagar. Perhaps Hashem will have pity on me because I let you marry another wife, and he will give me a child." Hagar had not always been a maid. She really was an Egyptian princess. But when her father Pharaoh saw the great miracles that Hashem performed for Avram and Sarai, he said, "It is better for my daughter to be a maid for these great tzaddikim than to be a princess in Egypt." When Hagar served Sarai, Sarai taught her how to serve Hashem. Avram knew that Sarai spoke with Ruach HaKodesh.
Divine providence.
He said, "I will listen to you and marry Hagar."
Sorry, not divine providence. With the Ruach HaKodesh is an elevated consciousness of Hashem. Okay, I will listen to you and marry Hagar. Okay, go.
Okay, after Hagar was married to Avram and expected a child, she became proud. When Hagar spoke to others, she insulted Sarai by mocking her. Sarai is not really a tzaddikus. If she is, why has Hashem not given her children? Sarai punished Hagar for such haughty words. She made Hagar work hard. Hagar therefore fled far away from Sarai to the desert. But Hashem sent an angel to command Hagar, "Go back to Sarai and obey her. Hashem has heard that you are unhappy, and he will give you a son. Call him Yishmael. He will be a wild man who will live in the desert and will be the forefather of a big nation." Hagar thanked Hashem. "Blessed are you, Hashem, who saw my unhappiness." Hagar returned to Avram's tent. She gave birth to a son whom Avram named Yishmael. He became the forefather of all the Arab nations, which, Rabbi, is really, really a shame. I mean, think about how good the Jews would have it had this not happened.
If it wasn't them, it would be other people. Don't worry. But isn't it amazing that these peace accords that have been signed already, three already are the third one is on the way with Sudan, and they say there are 5 to 10 other nations joining in this.
Rabbi?
They're called the Abraham Accords.
Rabbi,
Yes.
isn't there a prophecy that one day the Ishmaelites will join in worshiping Hashem as we do, and that then there'll be great peace and great power?
Yes. And that I believe that prophecy is coming true today.
All prophecies are coming true today.
It's unbelievable. We're seeing in front of our eyes something which is unprecedented in the history of the world. Unprecedented. And that nations, you'd think, that be coerced and arm twisting to make peace with the land of Israel. Instead, it's just the opposite. They're lining up. And it's not like there are big financial incentives. I know that people in the media are trying to say, "Oh, he's selling out the bank, to make these peace agreements with Israel." You know what?
No.
Saudi Arabia doesn't need our money. Neither does Dubai, does the UAE, and neither does Oman, and neither does all of these. They're oil-rich nations, right? they're doing it for obviously a much, much greater cause. Either way, let's continue because we're running over time and I want to make sure we finish the whole Parsha. Howard, go, please.
Hashem commands Avram about Milah. When Avram was 99 years old, Hashem said to him, Avram, I want you to have a Milah. It will be a sign on your body that you serve me. From now on, your descendants, the Jews, will make a Milah on their sons when their sons are 8 days old. What is the difference between the mitzvah of Milah and the other mitzvahs? Other mitzvahs, such as tzitzis or tefillin, a Jew performs at certain times. But the mitzvah of Milah remains with him day and night and all his life. He can never take it off. Hashem announced to Avram, you shall no longer be called Avram, but Avraham. Avram means that you were the father of Aram, the place where you were born. Now I make you Avraham, which means the father of many nations. Sarai's name will also be changed. From now on, she will be called Sarah, meaning a queen over the whole world. Just as you are a king over the world, so is she a queen over the world. Although Sarai is too old to have a child, she will give birth to a son when she will have her new name, Sarah.
Right, so there's a very important thing. We mentioned this previously, that the power in the name. So many times when someone is, I remember I was once officiating a wedding, and the bride spoke to some rabbi, some Kabbalistic rabbi in Israel before I arrived there for the wedding to officiate the wedding. And she said she spoke to the rabbi, and she was mentioning to the rabbi that she has, some issues with this guy that she's about to marry. There's some issues. So the rabbi said to her, "What's your name?" She told her name. He says, "I want you to change your name. You change your name, it'll change the reality of the relationship." And she changed her name, and on the ketubah we gave her a new name. We gave her her new name, which was an additional name, and that changed the whole mazel. It changed the whole. That's what we say mazel tov. Mazel is the sort of the good translation to the word mazel is like the blessing should be good. The blessing changes when we change the name. Here, the name from Avram changed to Avraham, Sarai changed to Sarah, and this brought a whole new existence to their life. Go, please.
Abraham laughed with happiness about the good news. Hashem told Abraham, you shall call your son Yitzhak because you laughed and rejoiced. Everybody else will also laugh and be happy about his birth. Abraham did not delay the mitzvah. On the same day Hashem spoke to him, Abraham performed Milah on himself. On that day, he also made Milah on Yishmael, who was 13 years old at the time. Abraham on that day also did Milah on the 318 members of his household, I guess. I don't know where we are.
Yeah, top of the page.
Household. That was a tremendous task to perform in one day, but Hashem gave Abraham strength to accomplish it. A story. How Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi's father was ready to sacrifice his life for the mitzvah of Milah.
So it's very interesting. Yehuda Hanassi was the leader of the Jewish people in his generation. He was also known as Judah the Prince.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
He wrote. Okay. He put the mission in words. Okay, go for it.
Once the Roman government decreed no Jewish father may perform Milah on his son. At that time, a little boy was born in Eretz Yisrael. He was named Yehuda. His father was one of the leaders of the Jewish people. The father said, Hashem commanded us to perform bris Milah. The wicked Roman emperor commanded us the opposite. Whom shall I obey, Hashem or the emperor? I will not ignore Hashem's commandment because of the emperors. On the 8th day after the birth of his new little baby boy, the father secretly circumcised him. But the secret was not guarded by everybody. Some people reported it to the city's governor. He had Yehuda's father called and said sternly, I heard you circumcised your son. How dare you defy the emperor's command? You need it up a little higher. Yehuda's father replied, I got lost when you moved it.
I'm sorry.
I do what Hashem commanded us. The governor said, I know you're an important man, a leader of the Jewish people. However, not even you may disobey the emperor. You will be punished. What will my punishment be? Asked Yehuda's father. That is not for me to decide, answered the governor. I will travel to the emperor in Rome and report your misconduct. You, your wife, and your son must come there too, and he will judge you. With a heavy heart, Yehuda's parents set out on the way with their little baby. They prayed to Hashem that the emperor would spare their lives. The night before they arrived in Rome, they lodged in a non-Jewish inn. The innkeeper's wife had also just had a baby boy. She began to talk to Yehuda's mother.
How are you there?
Yeah, why you're not happy with your new baby? She asked her. I see that you sigh and have a sad face all the time. We are very afraid, explained Yehuda's mother. The emperor may kill us because we circumcised our baby despite his prohibition. The innkeeper's wife was a very fine woman. She signaled to Yehuda's mother to come with her to a room where no one could hear them. There she whispered to her, let us exchange babies. You can show mine to the emperor. My baby is not circumcised. Yehuda's mother agreed and took the non-Jewish baby to the palace. When the baby was hungry on the way, Yehuda's mother nursed him. The governor was in the emperor's palace. He explained to the emperor, here is the Jew who ignored your orders, your majesty. He circumcised his son. The emperor was furious. Hand the baby to my servants, he commanded. The baby was examined, but to everyone's astonishment, he had no milah. The governor who had accused Yehuda's parents almost fainted. I swear this child was circumcised, your majesty, he called out. It must be one of their miracles. Their God performs miracles for them when they pray to him. The emperor was very annoyed at the governor who had ridiculed him in front of the whole court. I will have you beheaded for telling lies, he shouted. As far as those Jews are concerned, let them circumcise their children if they like to. My decree is abolished. Full of gratitude to Yehuda's parents left the palace. At the inn, they switched babies with the innkeeper's wife. The innkeeper's wife said to Yehuda's mother, I want our children to be friends when they grow up because God performed a miracle for you through my son. Do you know who Yehuda grew up to be? He became the holy Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, the president of the Sanhedrin. And the editor of the Medina, of the Mishnah. Okay. And what became of the innkeeper's son? Because he had nursed milk from Rabbi Yehuda's mother, Hashem gave him greatness in this world and in the next. He later became the Roman Emperor Antonius, who was a very, very good friend of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and protected the Jews. Like Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's father, many Jews in later generations risked their lives to perform milah on their children. In the time of Hasmonean, in whose time the miracle of Hanukkah happened, the Greeks forbade bris milah. They killed mothers whose babies were circumcised. Nevertheless, many Jewish parents circumcised their children. Until recently, milah was forbidden in Russia, but many Jews nevertheless performed it in secret. Our people were and always ready to risk their lives to fulfill Hashem's mitzvahs.
Beautiful. All right.
Very good.
Thank you, everybody. Please do me a favor. I want to get everyone the books. If everyone can just do the registration on the website so that we can.
You're frozen.
And so I can have
You're frozen. Nobody can hear you.
On the Torch website. It's called Parsha.
Rabbi,
Can you hear me?
No, you're getting.
Yeah, you're
You don't hear
breaking
me?
up.
Very.
Rabbi, thank you for another excellent class.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.